to your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just some high-flying, ran fast vertical stems of professors from Penn watching eagles eat and pray like Pazookies on birthdays. It's Philadelphia. Marissa, Bo, and Zach kicking it. Cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Marissa, Bo, and Zach are here to squawk. Don't miss the mistress talk on some.
I have a radio hit that I'm late for. I'm gonna give my prediction. You guys can stick on. Is that okay?
Unbelievable. Now we find out who has priority. This is ridiculous.
We've been on for an hour and 35 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Looking forward to the post-game pod.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends at 3:06 in the morning on Sunday after Saturday night's divisional round game between the Eagles and the Giants. A stomping, and we welcome it with a brand new song. Zach, Marissa, how's everybody doing? Zach, how much longer do we have you before you have to get to a new hit?
Bo, you have me for as long as you need me tonight. I am thrilled that Marissa's name is in the song and gets top billing because she is the backbone of the show. So I am thrilled that it's Marissa first there. Good to see both of you on here.
Shout out to Ian and Mark for pulling that together, and Marissa for adding the drop at the end. Nice work, Marissa.
Thank you. But yeah, shout out to Mark and Ian. They did the heavy lifting. But 3:07 a.m. That just gave me a pep in my step. I hope it gave you guys a little added energy and ready to talk about this game.
Zach, 38-7 in this game. And, I said on Friday, I thought this could be a blowout. I would like to say I'm surprised with how dominant they were in this game, but we heard so much about this new look Giants team. Not so much. And really all that mattered, I think the first drive of the game, I felt like, okay, this is it. The Eagles are back at full strength. It seems like they were a little bit out of sight, out of mind to the rest of the league over the past month as Jalen Hurts was out and then recovering from his shoulder injury. And once it looked like he was himself, the offense was back to being itself. It was a reminder that these two teams were completely mismatched. And the first defensive drive of the game, they get after Daniel Jones with a pair of back-to-back sacks. Did you at any point think that this game was going to be close after the first drive?
No, not after the first drive of the game from both teams. We spoke throughout the week, and especially on the last pod, about the talent disparity between the two teams. Like the Eagles checked every column here you could look at, and I thought the Giants would try to muddy the game. I need to say it actually worked in the Eagles' favor that they did not win the coin toss. I always believe in deferring the same way they do because just if you just look at the data, it's beneficial for a team to defer. But in this game in particular, the fact that the Eagles got the ball first, playing with leads, we've spoken about how they are they're built to play with leads. The Giants don't have offensive firepower. The way for the Giants to try to win this game was like to muddy the game, make it close in the fourth quarter. So for the Eagles to jump out on that opening drive, Jalen was perfect on that drive. And you go from there to the defense having 2 sacks. At that point, it was just the Eagles were just running away with it. And I did not see this type of game coming. And I imagine
I kind of did.
It was, well, if you saw it coming, you would have predicted 38-7, right? So,
well, I would try to hedge my bets a little bit, but I said I can't. I didn't understand the idea that this was going to be a close game. What
was your prediction again?
I think I said 31-17.
Zach didn't hear the prediction because he left the
That's
pod.
Exactly right. Yeah, I
Sorry,
predicted
Zach.
38-7.
You walked right into
what
that.
What I did, Zach, is I pulled a U in Swooper and said, well, on the 5-year anniversary of 38-7, they're going to follow it up with 38-7, which is exactly what happened. But second play of the game, Jalen Hurts hits Devontae Smith for 40 yards. Very next play, Dallas Goedert face mask or stiff arms Xavier McKinney into next week. Jalen Hurts runs the ball. They show that they've got the full complement of the offensive game plan. the playbook, and then Goddard scores a touchdown, and they're off to the races. And from then on, it was just utter domination up front on both sides of the ball. On defense, they sacked Daniel Jones 5 times. They pressured him at, I think, a 43% clip. And on the other side of the ball, they ran the ball down the Giants' throats. The biggest rush EPA per rush of the season, the best all year long in the NFL, was the Eagles' performance against the Giants in Week 14. If you and so they knew that they could do this to this defense. Everybody knows they've got terrible linebackers, like sub NFL linebackers, and it seemed like they really just decided, we can continue to do this against this team. They are not of the same quality as we are, and they ran for 268 yards in this game. And if you look at not just EPA per rush, but total rushing EPA, it was the most dominant rushing performance in the playoffs in the entire True Media database, which is this century. So it was domination. Kenny Gainwell had 112 yards on 12 carries. Miles Sanders 17 for 90. Boston Scott 6 for 32. He got his touchdown against the Giants, which of course he has to have. And Jalen Hurts 9 for 34. It was 20-0 at halftime, and the Giants had run 19 plays from scrimmage. This was like, thanks for showing up. I'm glad you got your win, but we've got bigger things to do.
Yeah, you put it well there that these two, we spoke going into the playoffs how the Seahawks or the Giants would be the best case scenario for the Eagles, right? That the Eagles would have decided mismatches against them. And for some reason, with the way the Giants played against Minnesota, there was this talk forming that they were going to, be a threat to the Eagles. And I thought they would muddy the game. I wrote in our predictions like a backdoor cover, but I mean, it was so clear how much better the Eagles were. You spoke about the running game, and we need to talk about Jalen Hurts, because the running game, the running numbers that the Eagles had in the last 3 games compared to the first 14 games of the season, and then this game here, the disparity was obvious. I will pull this up. I have it in a story that is being edited now, but it is so. Hold on, if you give me 1 second here, okay. This is so in the first 15 weeks of the season, the Eagles averaged 157 rushing yards per game and 4.8 yards per carry. The final 3 weeks of the season, the Eagles averaged 96.3 yards per game, 3.7 yards per carry. Of course, tonight they run for 268 yards and 6.1 yards per carry. It's clear that when Jalen is on the field and when he's a threat to run, that it has residual effects on the entire running game. The locker room, all levels, whether it was offensive linemen, whether it was Dallas Goedert, whether it was Nick Sirianni, they were all explaining this, what Jalen Hurts does to the running game. And that's not to take away from Gainwell or Sanders or Boston Scott, and definitely not to take away from that offensive line, which was just beating up the Giants. But the Eagles' running game is built around having a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, and there were no restrictions tonight, as Nick Sirianni said. And from that opening drive, Jalen ran the ball twice on that opening drive, right? He tucked it away in the zone read. So that signaled right there that, okay, this is the offense from before the injury, and it showed. And that's why they ran the ball well, and then the offensive line had a big part of it too. And Lane Johnson's return was huge.
I would like to throw a little bit of cold water on that, just in noting that the Giants were dead last, 32nd in rush DVOA over the course of the season. The Niners are 2nd. The Cowboys are 5th. And so it's a little like, the degree of difficulty is going to change next week. It's not just having Jalen Hurts on the field. But you're right.
No, but you have, you have now a 15 game sample size with Jalen Hurts on the field playing like this, and you have a 3 game sample size with Jalen Hurts either off the field or not playing like this, and there's a disparity there, right? So
Well, yeah, of course.
I don't think
there's a disparity. I'm not saying like.
So when he
doesn't help
throwing
the running
Caldwell,
game.
yeah.
What am
so
I
that's
throwing? I'm telling you, they played the worst run defense in football.
Sure, but my point is that if Jalen was not, if he was had the restrictions that he had in Week 18, you would not have this type of running performance even against this defense.
Maybe not quite to this level. I think they would have still been able to run on them, but yeah.
Well, they did play this defense in Week 18, and they did not run on them like this.
Yeah, because they didn't even care about that game.
I mean, but they didn't just take knees when they ran the ball, is my point, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, if you were making this point, it'd be a very salient one.
Well, I wouldn't be making the point because it's a mediocre point.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying. I mean, what do you want me to tell you?
Reasonable minds can disagree.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, you're right on the general point. Obviously, Jalen Hurts changes the math for them, and they're a much better running team when he's healthy. I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know what you're disputing.
Well, I mean,
you're
giving me a 3 game sample size. You're gassing up this terrible defense. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I am simply saying that the big questions going into tonight's game were,
Yes.
how's this offense going to look with, is this going to be pre-injury Jalen, and how's Lane Johnson going to look? And I didn't get a chance to speak with Lane Johnson after the game. I imagine he was in a lot of pain. I heard him he did an interview with NFL Network coming off the field, and he said early in the game it was tightening up on him, and then it got better, but it actually felt better than he expected going into the game. I had my binoculars on him for a good chunk of the game, in particular early, and he was paving the lane, so to speak. He was looking like Lane Johnson out there, and that was huge. And then the other question was, what kind of offense are they going to run? Is this going to be the pre-injury Jalen? And performance-wise, right, when they took such a big lead, they didn't need to throw the ball all over the place, and they didn't need to play with the same type of offensive vigor that they did earlier in the game. But the first half was every bit the pre-injury Jalen. And if you're looking for like the reasons for optimism tonight, it's those questions were answered. And now, well, there's a lot of reasons for optimism, but those questions were answered, and that bodes well going into next weekend.
I think that's right. And I think if you just look at like the arc of the season, by early January, it was pretty clear that the Eagles were going to be, the number 1 seed in the NFC. They had some work to do, and then Jalen Hurts got injured, but it was also human and understandable for like the team itself to have a bit of a lull at that stage of the season, knowing that all signs are pointing towards the playoffs anyway. I think that's human nature, and so like the question was, could they flip the switch and get back to the middle of the season Eagles come playoff time with a week of rest, an extra week of preparation for the coaching staff, and having 21 of their 22 starters available. And it was nice to see very early on that it was a resounding yes, that they could flip that switch. And in terms of the degree of difficulty, it's going to be it's going to be ramped up significantly next week. You're going to be playing a good defense, and you're going to be playing a better offense. And the Giants are, the worst team remaining. And this was very easy, but that's what you fight all season for,
Exactly.
which is what we talked about. Like the Eagles earned the right to get to play a bad team, a mediocre team in the divisional round, because they were 14-3. They were 14-1 with their starting quarterback. They get the week of rest. This is what they earned. And it means that, they're going to be playing a team next week who's probably going to be coming off a more difficult game. And so this is what they fought for. And it was nice to see that they can be that team that they were. So I think you got to be feeling pretty good, especially when you get the kismet of the 38-7 full circle moment 5 years later.
Yeah, so two things there. First off, you're absolutely right about earning the 1 seed, and when the NFL expanded to the 17 playoffs, it it didn't just add that 7th team; it further incentivized getting the 1 seed. And it used to be like the only difference between the 1 and the 2 was home field advantage for the conference championship game, which is significant, all right, and a slightly easier opponent seeding wise than in the second round. The advantage now is so significant, right? When you look at you're the only team that gets the bye, and then the second round opponent you're playing varies. It's much different than the other one. So that's why you play the regular season to get the 1 seed, and you saw the advantage tonight, because if the Eagles were not the 1 seed, even if they were the 2 seed and San Francisco was the 1, this second round matchup, this divisional round matchup would be notably different. And then you mentioned the Kismet. I mean, Bo teases me for sharing old links to stories. I don't apologize for that. The reason I write stories is so people read them. And I think that the shelf life is more than just the day you write them. So I shared before the game my story at the Inquirer from 5 years ago. And never did I imagine that it would be 38-7 on the same night 5 years later. So the Eagles should petition to have every home playoff game on January 21st, right? There's probably something about this date, but it was interesting symmetry, and it wasn't apples for apples in terms of the crowd, because that was going to the conference championship. This is a little different, but this was a fired up crowd. There's something about these late games. Sal Palantonio had that nugget on ESPN today that Eagles fans were buying Philadelphia Wings tickets so they can tailgate in the parking lot even more. I was getting messages from people who were going to the game who were talking about what those parking lots were like. So this, I mean, I go, it's a work day for me, but I know there's 68,000 plus who revel in that party, and I hope that 68,000 plus had a nice time, because this is one of those nights Eagles fans will remember.
You know how Chris Long famously said that anyone could have gotten it that night?
Yes.
On the NFC Championship game? I think anyone could have given it to the Giants on this night.
I mean, not the Texans, right?
I don't know.
So I'll say this. I think this wasn't all the Giants doing. Like, the Eagles defense was awesome tonight.
Yes.
Jonathan Gannon's group and Nick Sirianni gave an impassioned defense of Jonathan Gannon postgame, but that defense was...
Yeah, but that touchdown they gave up.
I figured you'd focus on that. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. But no, that group played outstanding. The pressure they had on Daniel Jones, the secondary just locked up. I know it's a subpar group of pass catchers, but the secondary locked them up, and the Giants just had no chance of moving the ball on the Eagles tonight. So all sides of and special teams too. Brett Kern had a good night. I saw the Punalytics crew said Brett is back. I mean, Zach McPherson had a huge...
You think he was responding to the Aaron Siposs plea to come off IR? You think this was a bit of a...
Yeah, maybe so. Zach McPherson had a big tackle. Jake Elliott remains perfect on field goals in the postseason. And Jake Elliott, who was a part of that 38-7 win against the Vikings 5 years ago, probably, well, I don't know if he knew or not the significance of that field goal, or that extra point, but there was some pressure on that going through for that 38-7 symmetry to be maintained.
What'd you make of that Brian Dable punt?
That was a weak punt. And
what are we doing, Dabes?
The explanation, I read the explanation after the game that he said, the the defense had made, I think, 2 straight stops at that point, or a stop at that point, and they thought that they could, pin them back. And then the Eagles went on and had a long drive. He probably should have gone for it, but yeah, to me, it's like that's a complete
It was on
no-brainer.
4th and 6 from the Giants 42, down 28-7 with 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and earlier in the game, he went for a
first possession.
4th and 8.
That's when Reddick had the back-to-back sacks, although it turned out that he ended up splitting the second one with ya boy, Josh Sweat, who later had a sack.
A strip sack. Yeah, Josh Sweat, who, by the way, builds computers from scratch. If you want to know more about it, you can find that story on The Athletic.
Have you gotten any compliments on that story?
I appreciate all the readers who've reached out and left in the comments section. I've read every one of them, and I'm genuinely grateful. Yes,
it's a great story, which
Thank you.
You were told several times in the post-game locker room, I believe. But we'll
all right,
let's for another day.
Yeah, let's focus on the task at hand here.
Okay. What did you think of Jalen Hurts in this game, Zach? His final numbers: 16 of 24 for 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Some of those throws were there was I think midway through the second quarter, his only incompletions had been throwaways. Mm-hmm. He seemed mostly back to being himself, and this was just the kind of game in which they didn't ask him to do much with his arm. Is that fair?
Yes, and they asked him to do much with his arm early in the game, right? They came out passing the ball, actually similar to that Week 14 game, right? On that opening drive, it was more passing than running.
Yeah.
And then the second drive was more running than passing. But yeah, they
actually
passed
the fourth touchdown drive. He passed a good amount.
I thought that I thought he looked really good on that first drive. He was making good decisions. He knew where to go with the ball. There weren't many passes where in real time I said he would like that back. There was that second half pass to A.J. Brown where he overthrew him. A.J. was open. That might be one of them at that point.
I think that was A.J. Brown's last play of the game. And if you were looking for a reason to be concerned, him coming up a little bit lame at one point would be the one thing to worry about. And the broadcast showed him not being very happy on the sideline. And he did not talk afterwards in the locker room. I was trying to talk to him. He said he was going to be right back. Went to the trainer's room, never saw him again. And he was talking to teammates about something. I don't know what the deal was there. I don't know if he was upset because he maybe injured something late in the game that he didn't need to be in, or if he wanted the ball more, or he, like me, lost Felix Auger-Aliassime in maybe he's got a tennis thing with his brother too. But whatever it is, he was upset about something.
Yeah, I did not get a chance to speak with him, so I certainly don't want to speak on his behalf here. But I did receive a few texts about that, and I don't have the answer yet. But hopefully, AJ, if he's not injured, we'll have a chance to speak to him this week and get more clarity on that.
Okay. And Landon Dickerson was the only other injury that popped up. He left the game. At one point was replaced at left guard by Andre Dillard, but then he returned. So you would expect that all is good there. All right, Zach, would you like to take a little break here? Would you like to talk about some more specifics about the game plan, what we saw? What would you like to do?
I'm in the passenger seat here, so I'll do whatever you choose.
What time is your hit with Gargano?
I know what you're doing here. You're instigating, and I'm not gonna. I feel very. I felt bad that I got off, but it was an hour and a half, and I wrote on there I need to be off by 12 here, and I pushed it back to 12:05. But
you could use the text. You went the private chat route, which who's really watching that? On the back end. It's
literally much easier.
I saw it in there.
Thank you, Marissa. Yeah. It would actually be easier to leave a private message in the interface that we're using as opposed to sending a text message.
No, because
but-
I have the actual comments. I would have to click another tab. If you text me, then I can see that you've texted me.
Okay. Nonetheless, I have no radio hit tonight, so I am here for as long as you think necessary. But I do think there's something to be said about a nice, succinct show where we are covering the pertinent points. But if your plan is to do daily pods this week, we certainly don't need to go overboard on the post-game pod.
We've committed to it. Marissa, how is Michael feeling? Was he rooting for the Eagles to win this game so that he could get his offensive line breakdown appearance this week?
So after the game, I told him he was watching, and I said, this means you're coming on this week. You know that, right? And he was like really coming on? And I was like, yeah, I mean, you said it, and I said it on air in front of all these people. And he was like, okay, I'm really gonna have to, review all the film and make sure I have all my notes ready.
Oh,
so
nice.
He's ready to go.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I think he's excited. I think he's got a little bit of a man cold, I told you. So he's like, oh, well, I'm a little worried about my voice. And I was like, oh my gosh.
We make it later in the week if he wants.
I said we have
Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, if he's not better by then, geez, I might have to ship him out. But yeah, so he's excited. I know there was a lot of talk. I mean, it's all over Twitter too. That Kelsey play was unreal. So.
Oh, the one-hand pancake?
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. That's nothing to Zach. Oh, the one-hand pancake? Yeah.
I was impressed by that play. It was a nice play.
Yes. So he's looking forward to it and even checking out the reverse, the either the Cowboys or the 49ers offensive line and how the Eagles defense can go after them. So he's looking forward to it.
That's exciting.
No pressure. It would be his first pod appearance. So
not his last though.
A lot at stake.
Well, we can't guarantee. I mean, I hope that.
Yeah, we can't guarantee it. Yeah, he's got to perform.
He will perform. He'll rise. He's a natural.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
We'll see.
I heard him speak at the wedding. He was awesome.
He doesn't he's more of the quiet one. I'm more of the talker. But
yeah,
once you get him going, he can talk, especially if it's offensive line play. So I might have to have a mute button and be like, okay, roll the break.
I thought his vows were beautiful. So yeah, he'll follow up from that.
I thought his eyes were beautiful. Zach, to your earlier point that we bickered about on the Jalen Hurts changing things, I think one place where that did show up, in which we talked about ahead of time, was in the red zone, where they struggled against the Giants in Week 18 and went 1 for 5. They scored touchdowns on their first 4 trips into the red zone in this game, and pretty easily. I think a lot of this is Jalen Hurts, but I also think I do think we need to give the coaching staff credit.
Yes,
I think they do take advantage of the extra time and have proven it now.
That was a great stat you had. Yeah, you said on the pod, and then you had it in our preview today.
Yeah. So now 5 games in which they've had, extra time to prepare for a game. So you're talking about week 1s and then their post bye, 5-0 now. And, maybe that's just noise. Maybe there's something to it, but I think that they were able to look at this team, and what they've been able to do all year long is, because on offense, they can win in so many different ways. They can really spam and attack what the defense is bad at. And this defense was really bad at stopping the run. They were able to kill their linebackers and put them in tough positions. And even the passing game, it was mostly short passes for Jalen Hurts, getting guys in space, and the Giants defense couldn't tackle them. I think they identified that. They knew, they felt comfortable that they were going to win those matchups, and they certainly did. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Would you rather face the Cowboys, a team that you've already game planned for and you have a better feel for, and these quarterbacks have not faced each other, which I think is interesting, or is it more interesting to have this test of a team who you have not played yet? I don't know.
Well, can I defer that question for a moment here? Because I just wanted to
Please.
respond to your previous point. Because it is something that I'm glad you brought this up, because I was thinking about it in the drive home tonight when I was trying to I wasn't writing it down because I was driving, but thinking of some thoughts I wanted to get across on the show. And Nick Sirianni he can laugh at himself, and he has these meme worthy either quotes
Oh, we
or
haven't even talked about
things that
this.
he
Yeah.
does, whether the pizza thing during the week and the flowers last year, and there's so many of these examples. And then there was, in the locker room after the game and posing for the players' Instagram videos where and he's wearing the chain, and then on the sideline, he made a face. Then of course there was the one where he said to a referee or an official on the sideline that he effing knows what he's doing. And so
She could
I just
say
want to
about
say,
the whole team.
yeah, Nick Sirianni, he effing knows what he's doing as a coach. He is a really good football coach, and his team, his team's prepared. They're prepared schematically. They're prepared situationally. They're prepared emotionally. Okay. There's very seldom a time this season when they haven't been prepared, or they've done stupid things or senseless things, or the types of plays that, like, if a coach has like Nick Sirianni has situational meetings, and he's talked about this on the record, these situational meetings that he has. What the Eagles don't do things that I think would be like where bad coaching. And you see that around the league. And he has, you mentioned how they had these answers, and Brian Daboll's a really good coach. Okay. I think he's shown that this year. He's extracted a lot out of his talent. Nick Sirianni's gone up against Brian Daboll twice this year, and the Eagles have much more talent, but three times this year, but twice when like the teams are trying to win games. Right. And the Eagles have blown them off the field. They've been prepared, and every week the Eagles seem to be prepared. I think Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff, Nick probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves, in part because, like, he comes off, like the pizza thing this week, or as I said, the flowers thing last year, and there's all these different types of examples, but if you just look at it from a football coaching perspective, he is a really good coach, and he deserves to be discussed among the top coaches in the league. Dating back to last year, they played for him at the end of last year, and they followed it up. He's been awesome. He's been absolutely awesome.
And I think we've talked about this too, but I think one way in which he is particularly underrated is as an offensive mind, because he handed over the play calling midway through last season to Shane Steichen. I think it is viewed as like Steichen's doing the play calling, even though we've talked about like it's Sirianni's menu and Steichen is calling is picking what to order off the menu. But you mentioned this to me before, Zach. Like, Doug Peterson always said that he never wanted to lose play calling because that was his favorite part of the job.
Yep.
That's what he cared about the most. Well, that's not the case for Sirianni. He said that his favorite part of the job is game planning, putting the game plan together on Monday and Tuesday, like figuring out what buttons they want to press, what they want to put together, where their matchups are, where their advantages are. And that bears it out based on the things that they've done over the course of 2 years. I mean, they have incredible talent advantages all over the board. We could play the game of dispersing turkeys between Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts if we want to, but Sirianni has absolutely taken advantages of the talent edges that they have whenever possible.
You're absolutely correct. I think he has a really good temperament too for being a head coach. There's different styles of head coaches. There's the Bill Belichick, right, where you like rule everything, And then there's the Sean McVay where it's almost like you're, the mastermind. I think
There's the Tony Dungy way.
I think Nick's humility and
Which you
like
having one of the best quarterbacks of all time into people thinking you're a smart person, but in
I think
actuality you're just sort of a bigot.
I think all of Nick's like these core principles, he adheres to them. His ability to connect with the players, with people in the building, their emphasis on fundamentals comes through. Like that, he backs up what he preaches, and I've been impressed by his coaching job throughout the year, and I was really impressed by the way his team came out tonight.
Okay, let's take a little break. Come back, talk about some small parts of the game plan that jumped out to us. Maybe some more thoughts on potential matchups. We'll talk about Swooper, and we'll put this bad boy to bed because your boys got a lot of writing to do.
Now, our next partner is a pretty cool product. Let's talk about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, and a stronger immune system in a really easy, natural way, you've got to check out Athletic Greens. I'm sure you'll all agree that most of us are not huge fans of having to take a bunch of pills or vitamins in the morning, but with Athletic Greens, you can get rid of all those extra vitamin bottles and finally get some room in your cabinet. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one solution that actually tastes pretty good. You'll really enjoy getting your daily vitamins. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day the right way. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/birds. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/birds to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/BWF. and get on your way to being your best self. When you're at your best, you can do great things, but sometimes life gets you bogged down and you may feel overwhelmed or like you're not showing up the way you want to. Working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you are more prepared to take on everything life throws at you. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's not only convenient, but it's also flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/BWF to get 10% off your first month. That's BETTERHELP.com/BWF.
Counting a swooper thing. Interesting. Very interesting. Welcome back to Birds with Friends, Bo, Zach, and Marissa. I got, when like there are tweets about like you'll never get roasted more than by like a teenager or something like that on the street. I got absolutely just demolished by my 2-year-old daughter, Jane, on the way to work today. Just completely roasted. I was getting dressed. I had gotten fully dressed. Was packing my bag, my work bag. Came downstairs where she was, and I was wearing my shoes. And my shoes tonight, my dress shoes, didn't have laces. They're the kind of shoes with no laces, kind of like loafers or whatever. And she goes, "I like your slippers, Daddy." Like
Here
I'm
you
wearing
were thinking you
slippers
were ready
to
for
work.
a playoff game.
Jane killed me. So I've
did
been
you wear
down
them?
I still wore them. It was too late to change at that point, but killed me.
She's a stylish girl. She knows her stuff.
I like your slippers, Dad.
You look sharp tonight.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, you had the Ivy League uniform on tonight, right?
What does that mean?
That's like the sweater with the V-neck sweater with the button down underneath. Yeah.
Why is that the Ivy League
Okay.
uniform?
I was watching Shark Tank recently, and I think they made that reference to one of the so it was fresh in my mind.
So I'm supposed to have seen that episode of Shark Tank in order to get that reference?
No. Okay.
What would you call your uniform for the audio listeners, which is a jacket and a white button down?
I don't have a name for it. It's what I wear to games. Yeah, I wear jeans, jacket, and button down.
Now, will you plus up for the championship game? We talked
Plus
about this
up
2017. You know,
Plus up regarding what?
You dress the juice of level of the game. Would like if in the Super Bowl, will you wear the same thing, or will you go suit? Will you go tie? What do you think?
I mean, you can't. It's one game at a time, right? But no, I used to wear a suit for every game, and then I went in this direction probably like 2-3 years ago, and
Okay. Well, you haven't had it, but you haven't had a championship game since then.
yeah, no, I'll still go sport jacket and
And
jeans
jeans
jacket.
though, or you're gonna
Dark jeans, black
Okay.
jeans, or and then
Super Bowl too?
we'll see when we get there, right? We'll see if the Eagles get there. I haven't thought about what I'm wearing if in this hypothetical situation.
What about you, Bo? Would you change your attire based off the game?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No
That's my
slippers?
MO. I mean, I'll go tie for at least one of those games. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Right.
can dress for the juice. I think that's
Ties aren't as popular as they were pre-COVID, right? I have so
Is that
many
a COVID thing.
Well, yes, because people don't dress up as much anymore. I mean, if you want to, if I know you're playing devil's advocate here, but literally look at NBA coaches, college coaches, they don't wear suits anymore, right? Because I believe what it was during COVID, where they couldn't get their clothes dry cleaned on the road, right?
Huh.
Something like that. So that was when they shifted, and then ever since then, now you see like the casual attire on the sidelines, but in general, ties aren't as customary as they used to be. I used to, I mean, this might sound like a flex. I used to be on TV every week, a few
That is
times
a
a week,
flex.
and I would have to wear the suit and the tie. And then later on in my time on TV, they actually said not to wear the tie anymore because they were going with the more casual look. So, yeah, I don't think it's like a controversial take to say that ties are becoming less emphasized.
Well, no, but it wasn't that they're becoming less emphasized. I didn't know that the pre-post COVID line was a directed line that you were drawing.
Yeah. I look at NBA coaches, college coaches as an example of that. They used to be known for the suits.
That's where you get your trends. Those are your fashion trendsetters.
Well, I don't work in a traditional office setting. So the places where I see people wear ties the most are television and basketball sidelines. and
Yeah,
hockey
I don't work in
sidelines.
a traditional office setting like an NBA sideline.
No, so what I'm saying is that where I see people dressed up the most are on television, NBA sidelines, college basketball sidelines, and I don't watch as many NHL games, but NHL sidelines.
Would you call those sidelines?
Okay. All right, let's
It's 3:49
Yeah.
a.m.
Okay. So cleaning up some like news and notes stuff that we had talked about in the lead up to the game. It was indeed on defense. CJ Gardner-Johnson in the slot when they were a nickel, which they were, or dime, or that 5-1-5 most of the time, and Reed Blankenship at safety. I thought that worked out well. I mean, this was not a very good offense they were playing, but Blankenship was active, made several tackles. There was that one play in the second half, that drop way downfield that could have been a touchdown. I'll have to watch the tape to see who was at fault on that one. I thought Gardner-Johnson was good. We didn't even talk about James Bradbury. Had the interception early of Daniel Jones. It was like the one possession the Eagles didn't score a touchdown of their first 5 possessions after that. But a really nice play. And that was a play where that was like give Jonathan Gannon full credit because they pantsed them on that play. CJ Gardner-Johnson. I'm telling you, CJ Gardner-Johnson blitzed from the slot. And so that Daniel Jones's rules are to, throw it where the blitz is coming from, replace the blitzer. He throws it hot, and James Bradbury had it pegged the whole time, comes steaming in and is there to make the interception. So give Bradbury credit and give Gannon credit for that one.
Is this the part where you bring Professor Selman on the show? Or
maybe you need to bring Angelo on. Although I don't know. You've got your 97.5 deal, so who knows if we can ping pong it back and forth.
So the reference that Bo is just made there is Nick Sirianni gave a spirited defense of Jonathan Gannon after the game, and he referenced Angelo Cataldi from 94.1 WIP. What Nick Sirianni said was, and I'm pulling this up here. He said, man, what did they score? 7. Yeah, big time. Jonathan Gannon puts those guys in great positions. Obviously, we have great players. Sometimes I have to hear some things about Jonathan Gannon, and I don't know if it's you guys, might be more other people. I won't say names. Angelo, right? But this guy is an unbelievable coordinator. The fact that he doesn't get respect from our radio station blows my mind. It blows my mind. I know he said the guy's an incredible coordinator. People love to play for this guy. He went on to say every time I
coach
hear
in this league.
Yeah, so skimming through here, every time I hear an answer about Jonathan Gannon, I laugh to myself. As a matter of fact, coaches from other teams ask me, does Jonathan Gannon get, and they wrote in the transcript, crap here. I think he said shit here. I'm like, somehow, yeah, like this guy is incredible. He's going to be a head football coach in the National Football League because of what he does. This guy is a stud. He's a stud. I can't wait to talk to Angelo on Monday.
Again, working blue.
I mean, it's 3:52 a.m. So
Yes.
according to
for the people
FCC
listening to it.
standards, right, he would be okay.
I'm also quoting.
But not based on the transcript. You freelanced a little bit.
Well, I listened to it too. So
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I thought good. And Jonathan Gannon, early in this game, they sent some aggressive blitzes. And you also had that 4th down sack. Hassan Reddick's looping inside. He threw a few different things out there. And then they were able to line up and just win against an offensive line that is not very good. So good job by your boy, Zach. On offense, some interesting personnel usage nuggets relative to what we've seen most of the season. The Eagles sort of pushed the Zach Pascal button and played a little bit less Quez Watkins. First half, Pascal outsnapped him. Also saw plenty of 12 personnel in this game. It seemed like early when this game was still undecided that the Eagles would do a lot of spread to run and then bring in 12 personnel to throw. For instance, that 40-yard completion was with 12 personnel. Again, they did not throw downfield very much. It was mostly quick passes. Jalen Hurts was getting rid of the ball quickly, and they were getting the guys the ball in space. Obviously, that worked out well. Not quite as heavy a Dallas Goedert game as we were expecting, but 5 catches for 58 yards.
It was early on
5 targets. Yeah, you're right. Early on, they made an effort, it seemed like. Devontae Smith led the way, 6 catches on 10 targets for 61 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown just 3 for 22. Gainwell 1 for 9. Pascal 1 for 4. A.J. Brown, like not super involved in this game, but I think that's fine. You think, I mean, obviously it's fine, but I think that's like calm before the storm type deal. I think against an actually good defense, you would probably throw him the ball more in contested catch situations.
Oh, yes. And I mean, whether it's next week or the week or 2 weeks after that, the Eagles are going to have to pass the ball, right? And they got off to such a big lead tonight. Like we said, after the first half, they barely passed the ball. after the first quarter. They didn't have to pass the ball much. So this didn't have to be a big A.J. Brown game, but that's what makes this Eagles offense special, is that they're able to play different styles. And Jalen Hurts has compared it to a menu at a restaurant where sometimes you want the steak and sometimes you want the seafood. And that's how this offense is. There are going to be days when it's a big A.J. Brown game, and there are going to be days when it's a Miles Sanders / Kenny Gainwell game.
I know we're like sort of poo-pooing it a little bit because the Giants turned out to be sort of phonies. But I think one thing you have to say about this Eagles performance, and what makes it really impressive, is that they were able to do it despite the fact that Robert Quinn was limited in practice this week.
Yes. So do you want to explain the reference, or are we gonna keep it esoteric?
Did you guys see Connor today?
Only on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, I was hoping to see him. I didn't see him in the press box. I saw him on the Twitter, the arrival that we needed. But and then I saw when I had my binoculars clued in, or I watch a lot of stuff pregame. Bo kind of teases me about it. He always says, "What are you
wearing pants?" Look at this. He's wearing pants.
Bo always says, "What are you looking at?" And I'm trying to get as much color. I'm trying to be the eyes and ears of
guys. Check this out.
I wish we could get a recording of what is going on in Zach's binoculars.
Yeah.
Like if that recorded the footage, I would be very intrigued what Zach's looking at.
Zach, he spotted Peyton Manning talking to Jeffrey Lurie on the sideline ahead of the game,
and Jalen's and Jalen Hurts' mother,
dancing up a storm in the end zone.
But yeah, so I'm actually going to defend this here, okay? Because what I'm trying to do for my stories is find things that the audience can't see.
Oh, I don't. You don't need to defend this at all. This is good reporting.
Okay, well, I'm trying to explain it. Like, if all I'm doing is looking at what's happening during the game, that's like I'd like to say sometimes the time was when I'm least valuable to the readers are those 3 hours when the game's going on, because during that time I'm basically seeing the same thing they are. Now I have a different vantage point and different context, but what I'm trying to find is like all the things that you can see on TV or that you won't know just from watching the game. So so I'm always I'm seeing who's talking to whom, who, what the interactions might be. And I did see, I see the TV reporters down there on the sideline. I'm always envious of Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philadelphia, because he gets that TV pass to be down there every week.
So I'm sorry. And what did this was about Connor, this whole thing?
Yes.
Just gassing yourself up as a good reporter. It was really just I see what you did there. You brought it full circle.
No, I wasn't.
This is how you're supposed to do the job.
I was no. I was saying you make fun of me because
I don't make fun of you for that.
You say
I think you do a good job with that.
You look like you're looking at someone very intently right now. What are you doing?
My mom actually.
When you are very you are very siloed in on something, and I want to know what it is. I want to know what has your attention. I'm not making fun of you for that. I'm trying to pick up some scoops from you.
All right, fair enough.
I was watching the game with my mom, and she actually asked me like what kind of notes and stuff you guys take during the game, and I told her that you both are so detailed. You know who is in on every play. You know what happens on every play. So she was very impressed by that. She was like, "Wow, they know even like who's in on each play." I'm like, "Yeah." So you guys both do a very good job.
No, Marissa, that's very nice of you to say, but honestly, and I mean this sincerely, that's a credit to Bo. Bo is as good at watching a game as any reporter that I've seen. And that's like I say this factually.
But as you just said, the lowest amount of value provided to the listeners.
Because you're
during that time.
No, Bo is, I think, the only one in that press box who's charting personnel usage on every single play of the game, right? Like he's terrific at that. So Bo's
football focus.
You guys are a great team. A great team. You should look at it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're all lucky to get your analysis and everything after every game. And I know the listeners appreciate it.
Do we need your analysis? Okay. Are we anything else on the game, you think? I mean, feel like we haven't talked about all the things that happened enough, but it was such a walk in the park.
No, we just hit on the defense. We just hit on, we hit on Dallas Goedert. I think the other thing that is kind of funny to point out is, but two different players brought this up to me after the game, was the way that the backup defensive players were playing on that final drive.
Yes, I wanted to bring this up. Yeah, they were laying wood. Josh Jobe almost killed a guy.
Yeah, there was like 3 consecutive plays where they just pummeled these people. Yeah,
that's really funny.
Yeah, so
Josh Jobe just like a heat-seeking missile.
Yeah, 2 guys brought that up after the game, so it was noticed by their teammates.
And he had like a little pep in his step in the locker room afterwards.
Yeah, new hairstyle.
I guess that would be my question for you, Zach. Before we get to Swooper, is Sirianni said the locker room was lit after the game.
Yeah,
but by the time we were in there, it was once again, as it was 2 weeks ago, fairly muted. And it was not super celebratory by the time we got in there, and it was sort of like business as usual, right?
When we were in there, yes, but fortunately, a few players went on Instagram Live, and as we're waiting to get in, you can pull up the Instagram Live, and that's where you see what Nick Sirianni was referring to as the locker room being lit. I mean, they were dancing. Nick had the chain on, and it was very much they just stopped the party once we get in. Whereas in 2017, they continued the party when we got in. Yeah. So okay. I'm curious why that is. You should ask the guys. What did you learn in the locker room when you were in there, or should we wait for your story tomorrow?
Not too much, honestly. Okay. Did you see the little scene with Jason Kelce and Dom DeSandro?
I was talking to Jordan Mailata at the time, and I saw something happening there. What was going on? Who was it on the floor?
That's the lead of my story. Is that?
Okay.
Dom DeSandro brought over his phone. He was FaceTiming with some people, and he showed it to Jason Kelce, and Jason Kelce lit up. He was very excited to talk to these people. You have to read the day after to find out who those people were.
Ooh, what a tease!
That is a good tease.
Speaking of Kelce, what game does his mom attend? I'm very invested in this.
She was in Kansas City this morning.
Right. I feel like she's got to come here next weekend then, right?
What did she didn't come today?
No,
she didn't do both today?
No, she stayed and she was in Kansas City, I believe.
Oh, I thought she did both today.
Which is surprising, yeah, because you would think that there were 2 different days. Oh no, same day. It was same day.
Yeah, same day.
Yeah.
Same day. I didn't know if she, in that like 1 hour span got on a plane. But I would think she has to.
I think she knew that this game was. She listened to Friday's Birds with Friends, and she said, "Bo Wulf told me this is going to be a blowout. I know that I can go to the NFC Championship game next weekend. I better go to this Chiefs game just in case."
Which game did you think would be more of a blowout today?
This one.
This one? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Kansas City one looked like it was going to be a blowout before Mahomes got hurt, but
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I did not answer your question earlier about which opponent I would more rather see, and if I were the Eagles, that is. I mean, honestly, and people, we mentioned this on the other day. As high as the 49ers have been, if I'm the Eagles, I would still rather see Purdy, and then because if the Cowboys win. If the Cowboys beat the Niners, then that means they're gaining momentum. And that offense...
Oh, it's coming to Uncle Mo?
No, but I'm saying that I refer to that team as a high variance team. As a team that I thought they could have lost to Tampa Bay. I think they can win the Super Bowl. Like they had both extremes because they can score the ball. They can get after, they have a really good pass rush. Now, that said, when you talk about the strength of the Eagles, and you talk about the strength on their lines of scrimmage, San Francisco is really strong on both lines of scrimmage. Okay, they're basically strong everywhere on their roster except quarterback. And by the way, maybe they are strong at quarterback. Maybe like we're overweighing too much the fact where Brock Purdy was drafted.
By the way, Zach, I remember I was thinking about this. we both liked Brock Purdy. You've been
Yes.
giving me credit, but we both
Yes.
liked Brock
Yeah,
Purdy. We
that's
talked about
true.
it on the podcast that he
Yes.
was both of you. Asked me who my late
Yeah.
round quarterback sleeper was. I said Purdy, and you said he was yours too.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned about 14 times the Iowa State connections on the Eagles coaching staff, right? So yes, that is
So credit
that
to
is
us both. Yeah, we invented him.
No, but I mean, and I think Dallas knows the Eagles, right? The Eagles know Dallas too, but I think that there's some of that familiarity there might work against the Eagles in that game, and that Dallas has played in Philly, they've won in Philly in the past, so I would rather, and I don't have the comments in front of me in this new interface, so I don't know what the fans are saying. But honestly, as hot as San Francisco
They're
is,
saying wear a tie.
I think San Francisco could be a little better for the Eagles than Dallas.
I asked them this earlier in the pod, and it was overwhelmingly would rather face the Cowboys.
Because they want to beat the Cowboys as rivals, or because they think the Cowboys are the easier path?
I think there was a little of both in there.
Okay.
But I would say like over 90% of people said the Cowboys.
Interesting.
I think objectively, I would rather play the Cowboys because they would be playing their third straight road game, having gone Tampa, San Francisco, Philly. That's a bit of a gauntlet. And their defensive line doesn't scare me as much. And their offensive line is a little bit worse, I think, across the board. They've got the better quarterback, no doubt. But I also think if I was a diehard Eagles fan, the prospect of losing to the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game would terrify me. And so I would rather have the higher downside of losing to the Niners than losing to the Cowboys.
But the prospect of beating the Cowboys, I imagine, for Eagles fans would be more enticing.
But I feel like the prospect of winning that game and going to the Super Bowl is pretty close, no matter who it's against. Like, no matter who you beat, you're still going to the Super Bowl.
Well, so I was thinking about this actually, right? If like the theme of the if the theme of the 2017 team was like the underdogs, right? It wasn't necessarily who they were playing. It was the fact that they were underdogs in every game. What if like this year it's the familiar foes, right? You have the Giants, then you have the Cowboys, and then what if they have Andy Reid in the Super Bowl? And it's you go up against the winningest coach in franchise history, but he never won the Super Bowl here. One of the best coaches ever in the NFL, but it's like that there's that mixed history in Philadelphia because and like from a storyline perspective, the Giants, the Cowboys, and then Andy Reid would be so fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
what would the name of that book be?
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Come on, Zach. We know you. You got to have some
familiar dogs
names starting to percolate.
I don't have a book right now, so I can't say that. Yeah, so
you may.
Right now, all I'm focused on is every podcast this week being better than the day before, producing 4 really good stories this week, and then we'll see what happens.
4 stories this week?
4 stories this week, at least. Yes.
That's a lot of stories.
I don't want to bring any timeouts into the off season, right? So. Yeah, whatever's in the notebook, I'm writing.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Super Storecasting. For those of you who aren't familiar with the game, the Rosenthals among you. Every week, Zach, Marissa, and I bid on the variable likelihoods of different outcomes that are submitted by each of us. There are 12 each week. If the thing that you have won, the auction you've won happens, you get a point. Whoever gets the most points each week gets a point for that week. There are carryover points. I'm leading 8-5-4. This is a 3-point week at stake. Marissa can tie me. Zach can pull within 1. We could all tie, or I could take a little bit of a lead. Zach, had the Eagles convert more first downs on early downs than the Giants convert total first downs? This is what I was counting as we came back from break. I counted 13 early down conversions for the Eagles among their 26 first downs. And the Giants had 13 first downs, which would mean it doesn't hit because it is written converts more. Now, I hope that that's correct. And I wasn't counting touchdowns because it's first downs, not touchdowns. So we may have to go back to we
have to leave this to the professor.
Good thing we have an official status.
We'll have to leave this to the professor. I believe right now it is at a tie, in which case you would not get it. There was a Jalen Hurts run, non-sneak, non-scramble on the opening Eagles drive. This did happen. It was a loss of 1 yard, but I told Zach as it happened that he need not worry. That counted. So that's one. The Giants have at least two of the following in any combination: false start penalties, delay of game penalties, timeout taken to avoid a delay of game. This was about the crowd influence. This did not happen.
They had the timeout, right?
The timeout was not about the crowd. The timeout was about Daniel Jones's contact lens.
I thought there was one later. No? But it would have happened. It would have had to happen twice. It would have happened.
Yeah, and they had no false starts.
Right.
And no delay of game penalties. This did not happen. I'm sorry to say, Zach. You also had Fletcher Cox has at least 5 combined sacks, quarterback hits, tackles for loss. Close. You needed one more Fletcher Cox sack, but it didn't happen. So 1 or 2 for Zach, depending on the professor's ruling. Marissa, the Eagles make a goal line stand. Afraid did not happen. The broadcast shows Eli Manning live 3 or more times. Don't believe that happened, right?
No, only like once. I was pretty surprised.
They did show him on the Jumbotron in the stadium. Very funny. They showed him, had everybody get riled up, gave him the double birds. Then they panned back to Malcolm Jenkins and Brent Selleck. Jenkins was laughing. Then they panned back again to Eli Manning, which was very funny. People booed again. Then they panned back to Torrey Smith. Good stuff.
I wish I included the Jumbotron in that.
No points for you, I'm afraid. Yes.
Yeah.
The Eagles catch a pass, which is deflected off a Giants player. This came so close to happening.
Yes.
At the end of the game, right?
There was a ball tip that almost fell into Dallas Goedert's hands, but unfortunately did not happen. And Dallas Goedert has at least 100 receiving yards. Did not happen. So, Marissa, unfortunately, a big old goose egg for you.
Yeah, not a good week.
Bo, I have a carryover. Mike McCarthy is no longer the Cowboys head coach. If they lose tomorrow and McCarthy gets whacked, that'll be a point for me, but unlikely. The Eagles play the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. Points still up in the air. If the Cowboys win, I'll get that. But for now, still 0. Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts combined for more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Hurts and Sanders combined for 124 rushing yards. Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, 85. A point for the good guy. The Eagles have a passing touchdown of at least 40 yards. Didn't happen. Close on the A.J. Brown overthrow, but even that would have been, I believe, 36 yards. And so close but no cigar. And then the Eagles win the game. That happened. 2 points for me. So right now, I've got the lead, but we will see what happens with Zach's. And then if the Cowboys win tomorrow, it won't matter. I will still get it, and I will go to 11 points over your 5 and 4.
Wait, was that the Sox one? The Eagles win the game?
The Eagles win the game, but if the Eagles wear white socks next week, my turkeys are pardoned, which means I get all 12 of my turkeys back.
Right, but I feel like there has to be an asterisk because they wore white socks this game.
That was not written in, but you're right. They shocked Deniz in the fact that they wore white socks in this game, but that has nothing to do with.
I almost feel like the swooper should just be like, it doesn't count because that was part of it. What do you think, Zach?
I respect what you're going for here.
What do you think, Zach?
I respect what you're going for. It's
Marissa,
wrong,
I trust you. So whatever you think is right works for me.
I mean, I think we can make up some rules.
I think that's a good effort out of you, Marissa. I appreciate it.
At 4:15 in the morning. We'll have to get Deniz to weigh in on all of this officially. before we declare.
Well, we got daily
score.
pods. We got all kinds of time for guests
Right.
and nonsense.
Yeah. Zach's got a big yawn coming.
I'm sorry about that.
He forced that yawn. That was a message yawn. He
No,
didn't actually yawn.
trust
That
me, I
was,
did not.
I'll
No,
get
that-
out of here yawn.
That was not a forced yawn.
Okay.
But I think an hour and 15-minute podcast at 3 a.m. is giving the audience sufficient post-game material when we have a full week ahead of us.
Okay. You want to finish my story for me? That would be nice.
I'm probably more equipped to finish the story for you than finish the podcast for you. Yes.
Okay.
No. So just to set this up here, the Niners Cowboys game is tomorrow. We're not going to hear from Nick Sirianni.
Is that the
tomorrow.
early game or it's the late game, right?
Yes, I believe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, like, I wouldn't put up a fuss. I would rather talk to Nick Sirianni once we know who the opponent is. So tomorrow's a day to do some advanced scouting. I spoke to some guys in the locker room who said they're going to get some sleep tomorrow. And then
What do you think they're going to order tomorrow? The coach.
They
maybe
have to keep it the same. It has to be Pizza Hut
Yeah.
again.
I'm
stuffed crust.
going to make a prediction.
Yeah.
Someone's going to ask Sirianni about this week, and he's going to say they ordered Little Caesars pizza.
Because that's the official partnership of
That's the official
yeah.
partner. Yes.
Yeah,
He's going
exactly.
to say they did not go back to. He's like, I had a hankering for Little Caesars. I think
Yeah.
someone's going to
Somebody in
get
the market. Yeah, exactly.
You can't say Pizza Hut.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
Little Caesars.
Yeah. They
Do
pay
you
a lot of
really
money.
think the Luries care if he's saying Pizza Hut and they're winning?
I don't think the
they'll-
Lord.
they'll eat the sponsorship.
No, there's hardworking people on
True, very true.
the business wing of the building who are probably hearing from a Little Caesars rep this week saying
Oh
like
yeah.
we pay all this money to be the official pizza provider. Yeah. So I get that, right? You put the birdie in the ear. So or
Marissa, if he drops Little Caesars, you get a point for super sarcastic.
Oh, okay. I'll be sending Little Caesars to the facility myself tomorrow. How many coaches are there?
Not a point for the win for the win, just a point for the weekly
Oh.
tally. So you'll still be short, but you'll get a point.
I mean, if it's not helping me win.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
But
You know
then-
what? If he drops Little Caesars, you get a point.
Okay.
So then I was gonna say it's a standard week, but it's not a standard week because what happens during the championship week is the NFL takes over with some of the media requirements. So there's more media requirements than typical this week, which for our purposes is good because
More
You'll
podium,
hear-
right?
yeah, but the flip side is you're gonna have more there, and there's like teleconferences. But the flip side is you're gonna have more of there'll be more national stories and that type of thing. More generic questions tend to happen. And then we know the time of next week's game, 3:00 on Sunday, which is good for our purposes.
That's
It's the
so
early
good,
game.
man. Oh, thank
Yeah.
God.
And
Thank
and-
God.
and Bo and I, we were talking about it tonight that we want to do the in-person pods together, but ever since we went to video, that's harder to do with one mic. So we got to figure out the best way to do that for the quality of the podcast, the quality of the audio, and to still have good video. But
We
it'll
can
be
work on
earlier
that for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great, and potentially Super Bowl pods too, right?
Yeah. Well,
Those will be Radio Row, right? We got
yeah. We'll have a setup out there.
Great.
So
Great. So that's what you can expect this week, and we will.
What do we think? Are we doing Tuesday to Friday daily pods? Or are we going all the way Monday to Friday?
Let's do Tuesday to Friday.
Marissa, what do you think?
I don't make the rules. Up to you guys.
Yeah.
You guys
don't make
write
the
it
rules
out
either.
and just tell me what time.
Marissa,
I'll
you
be
and I
there.
are in the same
I
boat here.
think there's a case to be made for a midday Monday react to Niners Cowboys. Get in and get out.
Get in, get out, meaning an hour and 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, that's pretty brief.
Yeah.
This is what
You
it's all
guys can
about.
talk it
We do
over.
daily podcasts for like 2.5 weeks during training camp.
I was talking to I was at my son's basketball today, and my cousin was there with his son, and we were talking about the pod. And Lee, yeah.
Lovely.
And I felt bad about jumping off the other day, but I said like I'm a little more structured, I think, in my schedule, right? So like I literally map out blocks in my schedule for podcast, writing, phone calls, things like that. Okay. I'm still not used to just going with the pod until you decide that this is the time to end it, right? I'm much better if you tell me we need 2 hours, I will open up a 2-hour block. But I tend to put like an hour or 90 minutes typically. Certainly not 2 hours.
I appreciate what you're saying, and that's a fair point. But it is on you if you're only putting in an hour.
No, I put in
stage
90
of
minutes.
your time with the show.
90 minutes. I generally put, unless it's like a double episode or during the summer. I tend to have more time. You know, the off season, we tend to have more time. But this time of year, I have a block of time where that's why the whole argument last week about not reading Bo's story. I have a block of time in the morning when I read stories. It's not in the middle of the day. So anyways, I digress.
I can't believe Haji Aliassime lost to Yuri Lehecka. It was a huge point loss for me. Lehecka wasn't even drafted. Brutal.
All right,
Tennis, for all those that don't know.
Let's wrap this up.
And then I lose. And then
Zach, you do
he
it.
gets an Ostapenko win.
Okay, for Marissa and for Bo and for Jalen and for Lane and for Tori and for who else should we? And
Eli.
for Connor and for Eli. Yes. I'm Zach. Thanks for listening. We greatly appreciate your audience.
And
Can't end it like that.
Bo, I don't use that word unless I mean it, right? So I will.
You don't mean it? This show doesn't end until you say it. If you really want to get off.
And Bo loves you. Yes. And we love you. Thanks for listening.
As always.
Okay? As always.